Mr. Siddharth Jan, who is the founder and chief creative director of Playware Studios. Right, he's a veteran game developer with more than 200 published tabletop and video game titles. Wow, that's amazing. He is also a lecturer, a trainer, a facilitator at many of the universities that we know, NTU, NUS, SIM, IL, even LHub itself. He's an expert panelist for IMDA Singapore. He's got 2 international technology patents, and I know that's actually very, very tough to get because patents take a long time and are hugely expensive. But it's got 2, not 1. He's also the author of Case Method 2.0 methodology for mobile practice and corporate training. So let's learn a bit more about Playware Studios. Concerning Playware Studios, it's a Singaporean edtech company specializing in simulation and virtual reality applications, right? Specifically for skills training. So over the years, actually, there are many awards that have been won by Playware Studios: Global Brandon Hall Awards, Regional Excellence Awards, Singaporean Technology Innovation Awards, and also the InnoPlus Flame Award 3 times. I remember being in some of these competitions with Sid as well. So he has won some, I've won some, so I think that's kind of fair and square. But it's been real fun, right? Being on the same kind of, in the same competition as well, right? With Sid. I've learned so much from him each time and his team as well. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the time over to Sid to just take us through his solution. Over to you, Sid. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for that introduction, Michael. InnovPlus is definitely one of the premier competitions. I'm really proud of having participated in very many. And as you said, both participating in InnovPlus and winning InnovPlus has been, I think, one of the highlights that I always talk about in Playware. For anybody listening to this webinar today, all the attendees, I can wholeheartedly encourage you. It is a great learning experience, whether or not you win. Thank you so much for the SkillsFuture month for having us on board. Playware is a Singaporean company. We've been at this for many, many years. And today I'm going to talk to you about 3D Hive Mobi. And 3D Hive Mobi is a platform that allows organizations to use games and simulations on various different devices, whether it's mobile phones, PCs, Macs, or even just as HTML objects, as web pages. So next slide, please. So what do we require from any training today? I mean, like everybody, when they talk about skills development, especially given the pandemic over here, we've had so many new experiences, so many different enterprises, so many different training companies come to us and say, while we can tackle the knowledge challenge, one of the biggest challenges companies are facing is how do they give authentic practice to their users who need to learn how to use specialized equipment, who need to learn specific processes, especially if they are working in life-saving areas such as, say, the police or healthcare or even defense. And so authentic practice, that's where the journey starts for most of our customers. They're like, how can we put this? How can we put our training online? What we've been doing physically with training sessions, with mentoring sessions, with live simulations, with real hardware, how do we put that online? So authentic is the first challenge. The next challenge today, as I think, James before me and other speakers have also spoken about, today accessibility of learning is extremely important, and people want to be able to access their learning from the device of their choice. They don't want to be tied down to one particular machine or just they want to be able to learn at their own time, at their own pace, in their own language. And so accessibility is becoming a very, very big challenge. The next challenge that we are seeing is when we start talking about games and simulations, immediately people want convenience. learning today has to be something that is bite-sized. It has to be something that can be done at your own time, at your own place. And then finally, any organization putting in money into any kind of training or learning content that they are building wants to know that that content can be future ready. One of the biggest challenges we've seen our customers face is if they spend a significant amount of investment. I mean, like learning content can be several $1,000s to several $100,000. If they spend this kind of money, if they spend this kind of time, if they spend the type of effort in building this, then they want to know that this content is future ready. Next. But when we talk about games and simulations, some of the big challenges are that building this kind of content requires many pieces to fall into place. So you need like databases, you need SQL or your Oracle or whatever database that you're using to manage your user content. Next. You need 3D modeling software. You need, and this can be expensive as well. You've got things like 3D Studio Max. You've got Maya. These are several $1,000s per seat and more. You need game engines such as Unity and Unreal. And game engines can take a lifetime of learning experience. These are professional tools built for entertainment, which is games and entertainment are today the largest entertainment industry in the world. But it doesn't end here. The next thing you need is you need somebody to be able to be proficient with programming. You need to know scripting. You need to know, whether it's JavaScript or C# or Python or any other programming language. And finally, like James mentioned, if you want to put out learning content today, you need for it to be on a software as a service model. You need to put it on a cloud, and which means that you need to be having DevOps engineers in your own organization. This is one of the most expensive skill sets that you can find. And so all of these skill sets put together represent an innovative amount of technology and skills and talent that you need to do to solve your simulation and training problems. So we thought about how could we simplify it? Can we change this? Can we introduce one environment that allows our partners, our customers, and their learners specifically to take advantage of the authenticity, the accessibility, the convenience, the immersion of game-based learning, virtual reality, 3D simulations, without having to think about all of these headaches and costs. So next slide, please. And of course, we wanted to do this in a coderless environment. So we started building 3D Hive, and we realized that you want to create any content. And this is something that we learned by developing content for our own projects, that any content that you need to build, you need a whole bevy of tools like authoring, content management, hosting, digital rights distribution, LMS integration, facilitation, training and support, over and above all the things that we just talked about. And for every project that you do, so next please. For every project that you do, whether it's a VR application, whether it's a game, whether it's a interactive website that you're putting up, the requirements remain the same. So we built, next, please. We built 3D Hive as a one-stop solution, next, to create and distribute immersive content to all kinds of platforms. For those of you who might be technically inclined, we have built 3D Hive on industry-leading platforms and tools. We've done the homework. We've built the partnerships. We work very closely with companies like Microsoft and Unity and Photon to make sure that at every layer, at every juncture, the platform is robust and it accounts for and takes into account future-proofing every technology that we are using. So we are using all commercially off-the-shelf solutions. We typically can integrate with a variety of systems like your learning management systems, employment management systems, school management systems. And we are able to do so in a fashion where if the technology changes tomorrow, our customers, our partners, our learners can stay up to pace with that change. And the technology is always maintained at its highest. Next, please. Authentic practice in a 3D environment comes from various different features. So the first thing is the location itself. So we have a variety of 3D locations. Of course, we have the entire suite of healthcare places like surgery rooms, like hospitals, like pharmacies, like clinics, etc. But we also have 3D locations like MRT stations. We have hawker centers, restaurants, malls, and even homes. And 3D locations allow our learners to immerse in an environment, not just visually, but also visuospatially, so that they can walk around and they can navigate in these environments and learn what the various sights and sounds that they are feeling or seeing in this environment, what they're observing in this environment, how it relates to their workday. So please click next, twice, one more time. Yes. The next thing we have is a wide array of 3D models of equipment of all types. This is monitors, this is computers, this is tablets, this is phones, but this is also things like heart rate monitors, AEDs. It can be any kind of specialized, ATM machines, cash tellers, and all of other kinds of equipment that a person may fall into or may have to use in his everyday life. And we have all of this equipment, including recently we've actually added a whole bunch of construction equipment as well, things like gondolas, things like forklifts, etc., that allow learners to learn how to use these machines for their jobs. Next, please. Please click next 2 times. Yes. What is very interesting about 3D role play is, just one more time, please. And once, last time. What is very interesting about 3D role play is that it's easy for learners to understand what they have to do in these environments, because our environments tell you very clearly who you are. So you have a 3D avatar in the 3D world that you control. That's the avatar in the center of the screen. And that's the avatar that you use to walk around and explore the 3D world. And then you have other characters who are there, who communicate with you, who have expressions, who talk to you, who have problems for you to solve, challenges that you solve for them. And this allows, in terms of expertise building, in terms of learning, people to try out model processing, which is figuring out where you are in this environment, what your challenges in front of you, and what are the tools that you can use to solve those challenges, as well as figuring out who you are, what your responsibility is, and what are the actions that you should be taking. So it's something that we've built with a significant amount of research, and I'll be sharing later some of the research that we have done around our teaching and learning practices. So the first example, we actually worked with the NUS Alice Lee Center for Nursing Simulation. And what they found was that using game-based learning, using games built in 3D Hive, they were able to see that not only were they able to see an improvement in post-test confidence, but also in post-test knowledge of participants who used game-based learning. And the primary reason they found was the fact that users could play the game in a flexible basis several times in the day and learn the processes that they require to learn. The next one, next please. We did a project with Jurong Health Services. This was the Virtual Nurse Project. And what we found was that Game-based learning on mobile phones specifically has a much faster participation rate, voluntary staff engagement rate than traditional e-learning that is rolled out or classroom learning that is rolled out because, again, of both time convenience as well as the engagement of the underlying learning content. And also, in terms of learning output, in terms of performance, there is a significant improvement that can be noticed in participants that are using game-based learning to learn their processes and practices. Next. So can I just ask you to press next a few times? So we've had 3D Hive in development now since 2007. Just a few more times, please. We've patented our technology and we've won several awards. Please click next again a few times. Yes. Most recently, we are very proud to have started working with the Ministry of Home Affairs. And today we work with pretty much the entire MHA. We work with the Singapore Police Force, Singapore Customs, the Narcotics Bureau, Immigration and Checkpoints Authority, Changi Prisons, Changi Airport Police, and others to digitize, not only digitize their learning, but also digitize their practice. Please click next a few times. And we've also recently started doing a lot of work in healthcare. We won the Innov Plus grant alongside Sengkang General Hospital, and we've been working on the Learning Technology Adoption Grant alongside Singapore General Hospital, Sing Health. And we've created in the last year close to about 60, 65 games for everything from nursing, for doctor training, for allied health professional training, for pharmacist training, etc. So can I go to the next slide, please? So that's covering my session. I'm very happy to take questions about how game-based learning or how simulation could be something that you could also be doing today.
Thanks, Ed. It's really impressive. Again, I think you need a full cupboard to host all your trophies and certificates and all the awards that we won over the years. Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's a lot of work, I know, and it's not easy, but very nice. Okay, I do have two questions actually. First question is, how much time on average does it require for someone to pick up using 3D Hive, especially if the person has, I suspect, no idea on the flow of gamification and so on? How much time does it take?
Okay, so there are two answers to this question. One is learning how to use the tool, and learning how to use the tool is something that you can do in just a single day, a few hours actually. It is truly a coderless software, and we initially built this in partnership with the Ministry of Education. So we built it such that not only students, but teachers also could create games using our platform without needing any scripting or programming knowledge. So that's the first answer. And you can learn how to use the tool really fast. You can make games. You can be up and running making games in the first few hours of your usage. Within the first, one of our guarantees is that within the first 10 minutes, you would have created a 3D world and you would have created your character, and you can actually play with your character in that 3D world. So that's the first part. The second part is games and gamification is a new mindset. Creating learning content for digital practice is different from creating learning content for the transfer of knowledge. So that can take sometimes longer, and what we have seen that it takes a few iterations, sometimes a week, we can have 2 to 3 weeks for someone to truly pick up, to understand how digital role play, how 3D simulation is done. And that can take a little bit of time to actually make meaningful content, authentic content for training purposes. But we support our users in both journeys.
Absolutely. We know as well, very often users actually need that sort of support. Got another question here about the assets, the locations, props, and characters. Are they further customizable to an organization?
Yes, we frequently get requests for further customization. We actually have a very large library of content already, but often what we do is we have to kind of put in specific logos on uniforms. We have to put up posters or logos or branding, company branding into the office locations that we may have. And so that kind of the assets that we've created are good for that kind of usage. And what is pretty what has been the most interesting and fulfilling for us is that there's a significant decrease in the cost because you're not actually creating the asset from scratch. You're just customizing it for your usage. So, if you want say a bus that represents your organization's bus, and you want a logo on the side, and you want the color of the bus to be fixed to yours, your company's bus, we can actually do that very quickly and at almost no cost. In fact, oftentimes at no cost to our customers.
That's wonderful, Sid. And I think that really helps in terms of employee identification with the organization and so on, right? That's all the
Yes.
time we have, Sid, but it's been really nice seeing you again and online, no doubt, but good to see you doing well. 3D Hive Mobile, and I think that's where it is the future, right, of authentic and 3D game-based kind of a learning as well, right? So thank you,
Thank you
Sid.
so
Really
much, Michael.
appreciate that time that you spent. Let's give Sid a round of applause as well. Thank you so much for sharing with us.